Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush has just come to an end, and in this video, I'm going to try to answer every question you guys might have about the ending. Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. In this video, I am going to be trying my best to explain the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush, at least the way that I interpreted it, and of course, we have to start with the conclusion of the duel. Thanks to the space-time being disrupted on the moon, the duel between Yudias and the creator keeps skipping turns, so we would go from like turn 2 to turn 4, and then back to turn 3, and eventually Otis actually gets the win in this duel over Yudias, but then the space-time rewinds the duel back to Yudias's final turn to give Yudias a chance to change destiny in order to prevent his defeat from happening and defeat Otis. It is here that we get a very emotional scene between Yudias and the twins, in which Yudias confirms to them that he has made the tough decision to stay behind in the past. While he doesn't tell the twins why he needs to do this, we later learn that he's doing this to prevent the invasion from all of the Otises coming through the portal from somewhere similar to here. I'll explain that a little later on, but that was actually foreshadowed by Quaidul back in episode 135. The twins are very upset at realizing that Yudias plans to stay behind in the past, but they decide to try to use their powers one last time in order to help Yudias overcome Otis. And so we see a Zexal-like transformation in which Yudias, Yuhi, and Yuumu all merge together to become Yudias Ohdo. Yudias Ohdo gains the power needed to defeat Otis before Otis is able to defeat him, and Yudias is able to prevent Otis from going into the future to become the creator. Otis's goals were a little strange, but the way I interpreted it is he wanted to basically become God. He wanted to become the creator, which of course was his Earth Damar, and he wanted to create everything so he would have the power to do every single thing that he could imagine. And of course, no one man should have the power of a god, and that's why we see all the other Otises try to stop him before this duel even begins, but they are unable to. And so Otis has his plans thwarted by an Ohdo once again, and is taken away by Quaidul to a planet far off in the distance, where Quaidul is going to watch over him for eternity. Remember, Quaidul loved the creator. The creator was the being that created him, and the creator is simply Otis's Earth Damar. So I'm sure Quaidul makes the connection between Otis and the creator, and he basically gets to play house with Otis going forward. And that's why you see him serving Otis food, and basically Otis is going to be held prisoner here for probably the rest of his days. And so that's how the Otis story ends. Sadly, we do not know the actual identity of Otis. The writers went down the direction where it's not really important who Otis is. Rather, he's just a crazed lunatic trying to gain the power of a god. Not my favorite execution on that one, but it is what it is, and that's the route that the writing team went down. We then see Yudias, Yuhi, and Yuumu have their formal farewell goodbyes. Yuhi knows that something big is about to happen, but Yudias refuses to tell them, and so Yuhi and Yuumu say their goodbyes and return to present-day Matsuba Town. It is then that Yudias confirms that a massive war is about to break out in the Sengoku era, where they have stayed behind, and not just Yudias, but all the Velgirians. Yugioh, Duty Nisha, and all of the warriors of the Sengoku era gear up for what is about to be a massive battle. We then see the moon, and you have the crescent moon that was created due to the ritual. I believe it is heavily implied that Yudias' ritual summoning has opened up a portal, a dimensional wormhole, if you will, that allowed all of the other Otises from all of the other worlds to try to invade and come through to this world. In fact, Quaidul foreshadowed this back in episode 135. Quaidul said that if anybody from somewhere similar to here understood that this world was an actual world, they might come to take it, and that would be extremely dangerous for the timeline and the stability of the multiverse. And I believe that's exactly what is happening here. Whenever Yudias ritual summoned, we would see this crescent moon form, and the crescent moon is on the moon where they just had the duel, and we know the space-time was going crazy on the moon, and so that is what is allowing all of the other Otises to come through. And of course, all of the other Otises from all of the other worlds are the Mystery Girl. Now, the Mystery Girl is a character that I always believed had a greater purpose. She was a character that would show up at really random times all over the place throughout the story of Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush, even showing up in Yudias' mind one episode before we learn, as well as Yudias learns, the existence of the multiverse. This ended up not being a coincidence, as the Mystery Girl from Go Rush is very clearly Otis. That's why when we go back to Matsuba Town in the present, the Mystery Girl is no longer there. We even see multiple jobs that she worked being worked by other characters, whether it was the laundromat, the library, or, most obviously, the cat rescue character, which she played in episode 2. Now that the Mystery Girl was able to go back into the past to try to confront Yudias and basically take over this world, she was no longer present in Matsuba Town. Really awesome foreshadowing there, and I thought it made a lot of sense what they did with her character, and I'm very happy about that. In the present day, we see Yuhi and Yuumu, and Yuhi is very glum, talking about how maybe something has changed in this reality since Yudias stayed back in the past 500 years ago, and they find a memorial that they did not believe was there prior. And interestingly enough, this is the same area that the characters of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s were sitting in when we flash forwarded to them. We also got confirmation that Yugioh did arrive home safely, and Yugioh, Luke, Roman, and Gakuto were just hanging out, and Luke noticed something on the moon, which of course is referencing the current duel that was happening all those years in the past between Yudias and Otis. Really nice wrap-up scene there. Would have loved to see the reunion between these characters, but this is the next best thing. Happy we got confirmation that Yugioh made it back safely. And Yuhi and Yuumu read the memorial, and they see that Yudias is named Yudias Ohdo, and this is where his castle once stood, and he was the reason that the invasion was unsuccessful, meaning that Yudias and the Valkyrians, as well as the warriors of Sengaku, were able to successfully fight off the Otis invasion, and they prevented the Otis incursion and potentially the collapse of the timeline from happening. Yuhi and Yuumu are very happy by this, and they go down to a shop in order to get some sort of souvenir, and then we see the person working at the shop, and it's none other than Yudias, who's in his weird paper form state where he's not really technically alive. And then, of course, he becomes whole. He becomes alive again, if you will. And that is how Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush ends. Yudias endured 500 years to keep his promise to the twins, and especially Yuhi, in order to see them once again. It's honestly a beautiful ending, and it just shows how selfless Yudias is. And who knows, I think the war probably only took maybe a couple of months, if even that. And for all that time up until this point, Yudias probably lived very peacefully and happily with Yugioh and with all the other Valkyrians, up until the point in time where he felt it was the right time to go see the twins once more. Now, I do also want to talk about the Ohdo element here. I actually do believe that the ending heavily implies that Yudias is the first Ohdo. That Yudias Ohdo is the first Ohdo in the lineage. Yuhi and Yuumu are his descendants, and then of course Yugioh is a further descendant. I feel like it makes sense from a timeline perspective. This is the reason why no aliens are present in Sevens, because no aliens were actually there in Go Rush, because they went back into the past. And remember, the Ohdo family believed that peace between humans and aliens would be essential in humanity's success. And of course, nobody knew that aliens existed at this time. So Yudias being an alien and the Ohdo lineage starting from aliens makes a lot of sense. There's more reasons for that. Maybe I'll make a separate video on it. But the way I'm interpreting it is that Yudias is the very first Ohdo, and that's where the Ohdo lineage started. And all of our main characters, Yudias, Yuhi, Yuemu, and Yugioh, are all the Ohdos. And it's why Yuemu was so desperate to save the Yugioh Ohdo timeline, whether you feel she was right or wrong. It's why Yudias was so desperate to save the Yuhi Yuemu timeline, not only because he valued them so much as friends, but because they were eventually his family lineage. That's how I interpret it, and that's how I interpret the ending of Yugioh Go Rush. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I explained everything quite clearly. Anytime you have a story with time travel, things can get confusing, and the ending is certainly up for interpretation in a few different sequences. So if you feel that I said something that you maybe don't agree with, please let me know down below. If you feel like I missed anything, let me know down below as well. All in all, I thought Go Rush's final episode was really, really good, and I'd love to talk to you all in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.